This is Gemara Sanhedrin Daf Pei Tes, and we're holding on to Bechasim and Beis. We are at the Mishnah, about 12 lines from the bottom. All the learning should be an incredible zchos rafua shlima for Tinok ben Miriam Ahuva as we glean the last little bits left of Purim on a day that's Purim in Yerushalayim Yer HaKodesh. All the zchos, the koyach HaTorah on a day of Hadar Kiblua in the times of Achashverosh should be an incredible zchos rafua shlima and mirza Hashem. So we're holding on the Mishnah on the bottom of Pei Ches Amid Beis. Says the Mishnah, Chaimer b'divrei Seifrim, mi b'divrei Torah. Divrei Seifrim is more chamor than divrei Torah. Now this is regarding the zakin mamre, as we've been discussing. Chaimer ain't tefillin k'dei lavar al divrei Torah. If a zakin says no mitzvah of tefillin, in order to be over Torah, potter, he is potter. But if he says there are 5 boxes, of course we know tefillin is 4. But if he says there are 5 compartments to add on, then he is chay. And the simple pshat over here, Rashi keys us in that if you're saying something that's keneged pashit Torah, the top Rashi in the Mishnah, inza hoira, the zil kari beiravu. What's that's a psak? If I say, oh, there's no Shabbos. Oh, there's no tefillin. That's ridiculous. So of course that's not a psak. There's no tzad. Sometimes there's no tzad. Of course it cannot deem him a zakin mamri. But where it's a divrei seifrim, it's a drasha, and that he comes to argue, then he is. So Amar Rav Elazar Rav Yoshia, chayev al davar sheikari midivrei Torah. Even though we're saying it has to be divrei seifrim, he's chayev on, but has to be on something that's be'ikar midiraisa, peirusha, and the explanation is b'divrei seifrim. V'yesh by lahisef, and he could add v'mahisef kaireya. And if you add, you detract. That's the equation that could result in the zakin mamri. However, ve'in lanu ala tefillin aliv Rav Yehuda. It's the only case that such a thing is shayich. It's mekar daraisa. Explanation is the rabbanan. By adding on that 5th toitafais, you're detracting, and therefore he'd be chayv. Ask the Gemara Vayikalula. The carbon the retire brisha the reseifrim. So why isn't that a case as well? Says Gemara Belula Ma'isirlan. Isirlan the love ein sarchai. You don't have to bind it. And therefore, by adding on something, it's a separate item. So you can't be chayiv. You don't actually put them all together within your dalan minim. V'isirlan, if you hold titzarach aged then karua vaymiru. If you hold it, you have to bind it, and you add on by adding another item, then it's pashit. It's not you're adding something on. It's not dalan minim. Says Maroket Shayan Vigat sits is the carbon debris from Torah. Perusha b'divrei seifrim, 2 lines to the bottom. V'yishvel ha'isiv and moisiv gareya. Says the Gemara, b'tzitzis ma'isvirlan. What is this entity by tzitzis that we potentially could be adding on to? Isvirlan, if you hold by tzitzis, the kesher elyon lav deraiso, that the top not lav deraisa, the top not is not a deraisa. Ha'ile chudekai, v'ha'ile chudekai. Then it's considered that each entity is by itself. V'isvirlan, as we turn over to Peites Amid Aleph, if you hold that what? The opposite. The Kesher Elyon is a deraisa. Then says the Gemara, Gurava then of course it's a problem. Ihachi says the Gemara the same thing. Tulanami Iavid Arba Bati Vaisi Achrina Vanach you put a 5th bias. Again, so why is tefillin this quintessential item that we're saying you could have this issue? Then Grava, I made it pashit. So says the Gemara, this is going to fit with Rav Zera, excuse me. Why you originally made 4 compartments, and then you added a 5th one, so it's not going to be near a line. It's not pashit that it's possible, but the fact you added on something to divrei Torah, to divrei seifrim, excuse me, in the explanation of divrei Torah, that's where the potential zakin mamri. Now that we know what halachas creates a zakin mamri, now how do you kill the zakin mamri? Says the Mishnah, "Ein me misanas lo bebezdin shabi roi, lo bebezdin shabi avne." Elamalanos lo bebezdin agadol shabi Yerushalayim. You bring him to bezdin agadol. Shamrei say out a regel, and we watch him until Yontif. Umay misin aisei beregel. He's executed during Yontif. Shenemar v'cholam yishmu v'yirau v'lo yizidu noed. Everyone should hear and no longer err anymore. Divrei Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Yehuda Omer ein ma'anin dina shel zeh. No, you don't wait. Elama misin asay miyad v'koyse v'sholchin shluchim v'cholam akaymais. You write a letter and you send it out. Ish v'loini mischayim misa bebezdin, publicizing to make sure that no one follows him. Says the Gemara, Tanarabanan, Ein Mimi Sidasal Bezin Shabi Yivla Bezin Shabi Yavne. A Braisa elaborating on the din of the Mishnah. Elo Malan Sal Bezin Agad Shushaim Shamray Sada Regal and Misan I said Regal Shanaf Lam Yishmu Yiro Div Rabbi Kiva. Amrlay Rabbi Yehudim Chinam Yiru. V'yiru, v'haloy le'nemrel yishmu v'yira. They should hear and see. Lama, my Nadina shall says, so why are you waiting? Ela me'misin, I say you kill him miyad. And then v'koysim v'shalcha b'chol makim, you write and you send everywhere, spleni eschayim misa bebezdin. Similar, almost identical to the Mishnah with a few added details. Taner Rabbanan says, the Gemara Arba, Zichlach Zara. 4, you have to announce Hamesis ben Seira Umayra Zakin Mamre and Edim Zaimim. Bekolu Ksiv v'Cholam Chayisrael Beidim Zaimim Ksiv Anisharim Deloy Kuliyama Chazi Lesudasa. Therefore, we have to announce it to everyone else. Continues the next Mishnah. Continue on the theme that we started with a bunch of daf ago, which is which people get misa by a chenek. Says the Mishnah on the first medium-sized line, Navi HaSheker, HaMisnavnei Mashlei Shama. He gives over nevuah that which he didn't actually hear. Mashlei Nemar Loi, Misasa B'dei Adam. Aval HaKovish has nevuah. But if someone suppresses a nevuah, V'mevater al Divrei Navi, or one disregards the word of the Navi, V'navi Shav al Divrei Atzmai, or he disregards his own words, Misasai, then is B'dei Shamayim Shenemar, Nochi Eder Shimai. If you give over nevuah, Rachman al-Islam, in the name of the Avodah Zarah, even if you had to write halacha, letami zatar letar zatar, habal ish ish, kim shechus al bal lenisuim. Once you marry, even though there's no bia, habal lari zebechenik. Once a woman has the din of an ish, even before the consummation of the marriage, if someone has been zana with her, they get chenik. Muzmin maktina salamisa chot mizayim baskayin ubayhala. So says the Gemara, continuing the halachas of the chiyam misa by a navi. Taner Rabbanan on the 4th very well line. Shloisha misa b'dei shamayim, shloisha misa b'dei adam, shloisha misa b'dei shamayim. Hamisnav and Mashli Shama, number 1. Mashli never learned what he wasn't told. Hamisnav and Shemot Chavim, those 3 cases. Misas B'dei Oven. Hakot, the other Mikovish, also you suppress. Vatal Deminavi. But never Shaval Diriatso, then Misas B'dei Shemayim. So says the Gemara 6 halachas, 3 B'dei Oven, 3 B'dei Shemayim, and on. Immediately already know this from Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Rav. Damar Kra, Achanavi, Sheyazal Davar, Daber, Davar Bishmi. Someone gives a voice that he didn't hear. Someone else heard. It wasn't said to him, so how you repeated the nevuah said to someone else. And all these psukim, it says, that's where we get the fact that this Navi, this Zakin is Chayv Chenek. Kovish has to go Asav and Avatal Demi Navi, Navi Shaval Demi Atzmai. Those 3 cases, Yasav De Shamayel, Sevesh Shalai Yishma, Kari Be Lo Yishmiya, Ashmiya Vel Kari Be Lo Yishma, El Devari, Uksev Anoich Eder Shmima, Bidei Shamayim. And therefore, those 3 will get Misa Bidei Shamayim. Continues the Gemara, Mistav De Mashal Shama. Someone gives over Nevuah that which he does not hear. So explains the Gemara about the 2 dots approximately 20 lines from the bottom of Eitas Amid Aleph. Hamisnave Mashal Ishama, he gives them a nevuah that we shouldn't hear. Kigoin, what's an example? Sitkio ben Kenano. Tachsev Yaso Sitkio ben Kenana Karne Barzel. My Havalila Mevad. Says the Gemara, what could Chizkiah, Sitkio, what should he have done? Ruach Navos At Isei. The spirit of Navos misled him. If you look at the story over there, he actually thought. Was the void Chsev Yomar Shemi if Ates Echov. The Alva Yipol Baramis Gilad Vita Ruach Liamar Lefnei Hashem. The Ruach came. Yomar Aniafitanu. So we see it was the spirit of Navos that tricked him. Yomar Tipata. Gam Duchal Tzevas Lekain. So Rav Yehuda says, Rav Yehuda might say, what does it mean? Go out. Say Memich Litzasi. Shem says to the shade, leave my environment, my Ruach. Rav Yechon Ruach Shal Navos HaYisraeli. This is the spirit of Navos HaYisraeli. So we see that was the case, that the Navi was tricked. So why is he held accountable? Says the Gemara, you know why? Should have checked. Says Rav Yitzchak, there's one sign that comes to many Nevi'im. With two Nevi'im can have the exact same Nevuah. Ovadia Amar Zadon Livchas Yacha. Yermi Amar Tefilasecha Asiyoischa. Zadon Libecha. So says the Gemara, they're similar nevuah. He's not exactly the same. Says the Gemara, wait, they all said the exact same nevuah. That's the raya. More than one Navi is saying the same thing, then clearly it was not a real nevuah. Ask Gemara, wait, maybe they didn't know. Maybe the Navi did not know this thing. Says the Gemara, Yishavat was there for Kamalahu, and he said to them, Yomi Yeshavat says Yeshavat Hain Point Navi Hashem Oid is no Navi Hashem. Amar Lei Hoyik Kolhani. They're all of these. Amar Lei Kachel Kam Savi Abba sing the Echel Other Kam Neviim Ancient Neviim is having sing on Echel and Savi Mashalish Nemar Loi. Excuse me. So those cases shows that the Navi doesn't know what he's talking about. The next case, what's an example of that? Says the Gemara, 5 lines to the bottom, Chanani ben Oizer, Yirmiyah b'Shuk Elyon, Yirmiyah was in a Shuk Elyon, V'kamar Kamar Shem Zavok Sini Shaveretz Kishes Elam, Nasi Chananya, Kal V'chaymer B'yatzmoi, Chanani said a Kal V'chaymer, Ma Elam, Shlobo Elela, Azur Esbav, Lamak Shbachani Shaveretz Kishes Elam, Kishedim, Kastin Atzmon, Alachas Kamba Kamba, their mom is trying to persecute the Yidin. Therefore, they knew that it was the wrong thing. So he came to the lower shuk, and he said, Shibarti is all Melech Bavel. 1 second, what wasn't said to anyone. Since the Kavachomer was given over to Darshan, commanded Merlodam. He says, if he gets set over this Nevuah, Nihid, Olonamer Loyam is Nave B'Shem, Nihid is Loy, excuse me, Hunamar, commanded Itmar Lay Dami, Hunio, Dolonamer Lay. It's only he who did not say it, but of course, this is considered Nevuah, he should have said over. Finally, Akovish S. Nevuah Sai. So and suppresses his nevuah, the bottom line. Who's that? Kigoin is we turn over to who's the one that's mevater? Kigoin Chavrayo de Micha, the friends of Micha the Chsev, as the Pasuk says, V'ish Echad, excuse me, Bnei Anaviyim, Amar El Re'ehu B'Dvar Hashem Echinu, Nava Yimayin Eish LaKoisei Uksev. You didn't listen. But Navi what's the next case? A Navi that is over on his own words. That's the name of a Navi, says the Gemara. Says the Pasuk Siva Oisai. Uksev, and the Pasuk says, Yomer like Gamani Navi Kamecha. So we see from the sequence of events that he was an inappropriate Navi. Like you get Malchus. I don't understand. Someone who eats dates should get Malchus. Says the Gemara, how can we get malchus for a lack of positive? How can we get malchus if he just holds back his nevuah? Man mashibe. What's the hasra? You have to tell a guy something proactive. There's no hasra that he's suppressing. So Amar Abaye, 15 lines down. The first one line is Abaye, Avrei Nevi. His fellow Nevi'im can warn him. No yada. From where? How do they know? Says the Gemara, Amar Abaye, Dachsev ki lo yaseh Shem lakim davar kim koila soidai. Says the Gemara, but how do you know? V'del ma'hajibi. Maybe they'll be a chayzer. Maybe they'll pull back the nevuah. And of course, these are hard things to comprehend what we're discussing, because the nevuah is ostensibly a davar ruchni, so it's hard to compute. But I guess the other neviim got the signal as well, so we're trying to handle that they should have warned him. But now says the Gemara, maybe the Hashem is going to pull back the nevuah. Says the Gemara, Im Isa Dahaji Bey, that if the nevuah was pulled back, Aduye Havi Modiale, then Lakula Nevi, all the Nevi'im, it's like you get like an update, a status update. By the way, the nevuah is no longer. Asks the Gemara, Yoina Dahaji Bey, Yoina Navi, the nevuah was pulled back. Veloidia Yoina Meikar, Veloidia, and Yoina was not told about it. Says Yoina Meikar Ninve Nefeches. Amrile. Originally, Yonah was told the Nevi will be overturned. He did not know. He didn't know what it meant. Therefore, there was no follow-up. That was necessary. Continues the Gemara. Amavata al divrei Navi. Someone who's mavater, someone disregards the words of a Navi. Minayadi dianish. I think he gets punished. Yavalei ois. Says the Gemara, because he was given an ois. Micha was punished. Hechel the muchzak shani. Micha already knew he's a real Navi, so therefore you don't need to have that ice. Diloi tema'achi Avram b'hara Maria hechel shamle Yitzchak Eliyahu bar Carmel hechel samchi vavade hechel samchi le. How can they rely on Eliyahu Navi? So must be vavdi shchut echot and go and check out to the base of Mikdash. Hechel the muchzak shani. These were Eliyahu Navi, Avram Avinu were muchzak in nevuah, and therefore they're able to be fully believed. Continues the Gemara. Once we mention Akidas Yitzchak, let's go a little bit deeper. And it was after this matter. We're about 15 lines from the medium-sized lines. First one line is Hadvarim. V'lakem nises Avram Hashem test and Amar v'yichlem Hashem v'yisib en Zimra. Echadvar shel Satan. V'yigdol yelad v'yigamal v'yigamer and Avram weaned him. Amar Satan le'agadosh baruch hu Rabbeinu shalom. Zakein zech and asai. This Zakein Avram Avinu zech chananta l'mei shana b'ribaten. You gave him a child after 100 years. Mikol suda she'asa lo'yoloi tor echad. Any for the entire suda he made, did he not have one carbon to bring before you? He says the Kadosh Baruch Hu, did I make a feast for anything more than his son? Shem says, if I were to tell him to shech that kid, he would do it right away. Miyad, and therefore right away, Avram, Hashem comes to test Avram. Vayomer Hashem says, "Kachles bin Chamer Shimon Barbara Ina Elashem Akasha, please." Mashal Melwas Vidam in the first medium-sized line. Shamdu Olam Melchama is Harbei. But the Giber Echad is one strong guy. And it's Chol Yamim. Amdu Olam Melchama is another word. Chazak Amar Loy B'Akasha Melchama Levi Melchama Zu. So the general says, "Please, I'm requesting one more battle." Shloyomer, so people don't say. Harishonos in Mamish, his original battles, nah, they were nothing. Avakash Baruch Hu Amar Avram Avinu Nisisecha B'Kama Nisyonos. I gave you already many tests. V'Amarata B'Kulam Achshav Amar Li B'Nisyonos. Zef expanded this one. Shlei Amar in Mamish v'Rishonim. Es Bincha Beis Banim Yeshli. Says Avram Avinu. Es Yichedcha Zeh Yachalim of Zeh Yachalimai. Says Avram Avinu. They're both Yachidim. Asher Hafta. I love both of them. It's Yitzchak Kol Kach Lama, and therefore Hashem finally says it's Yitzchak. Kol Kach Lama, K'tei Shlo Titzer, if Daito Alav, Kadmu Satan Laderech L'Sata blocked his road. Amar Le'anisa Davar Alecha Talav Ani Yisarti Rabbi Amar Loi, the Satan says, Hanisa Davar Elecha Teleh. Should he test you with something that will leave you crippled? You've had many that are weak, your hands would be raised up and will buckle. So the Satan is trying to entice Avram Avinu. Amar Loi, so Avram responds, Ani betumi elech. Says Avram Avinu, no. Ani betumi elech. I am going in my perfection. Amar Loi, says the Satan, Lai Rascha Kis Lasecha. The second wide line is not in your kavod that you're going to stumble. Amar Loi, Zachar Na Mihu Naki. Says Amar Avinu, remember who is the Naki Avad? Who is the innocent that was lost? Kim the Chazal Kashamali, the Chasata sees not listening. Amar Lei, Veilai Davar Yigunav. As for me, a message was stolen. Kach Shamati Me'achari Apargid, says the Satan. Haseh lo oilo. So at that last moment, the Sultan reveals you don't have to actually shecht your son. Vein yitzchak lo oilo amar loy kach anshay shel badai. This is the punishment of a liar. Shafilu amar emes in shayim loy. Then now Avram Avinu didn't want to listen because he was nervous that he wasn't telling the truth. And we're going to pick it up from Rav Levi. Psiyata dishmaya.